Philip, as I look at this case and now that we're getting ready to cover it, I'm looking back at it, and I still cannot understand how this guy's free. There's something clearly wrong with him. He's eccentric, if you want to use that word. That's the word we use for people with money, right? They're eccentric, not crazy. And he's not anyone, just anyone can cut up a body. I'd love to get your thoughts on this case and why this guy is not away already.
Well, keep in mind, he was on the run for quite a while. He was in hiding. Back at the time of the Galveston murder, he was under an alias, basically living the life of a woman. So he's been basically living on the run. And you got to keep in mind as well that it took several years for the prosecution to piece this case together. Ultimately, you know what did him in, Michael? His own mouth. He ran his mouth, be it directly to the producers or on a hot mic. If you remember, he made a very, very incriminating statement that he's now going to have to answer to a jury about who would have killed these people. And he essentially admitted it. Some of the worst evidence against any criminal defendant is oral and written and videotaped statements. You're cornered, you're boxed in. Now, as to why he would deny writing that cadaver note, I could understand. He obviously knew that the heat was on and he tried to divert attention away from himself, and he'll probably testify to that.
Well, now he is going to take the stand. Now, the sense I got from watching the Jinx, and even from, you can just get it from listening to him there, he's the kind of guy, first of all, he's the son of a multimillionaire. He himself is a multimillionaire. I think he's the master of the universe in his own mind. He certainly comes off as someone who thinks they're the smartest person in the room most of the time. He wants to take the stand. I'm sure he thinks he can talk his way out of it. But in the state he's in now, that seems extremely unlikely. So I'm wondering what the defense is going to do in light of those issues. Because, part of their argument in terms of his illnesses is that he can't actively participate in his own defense. And that is something that the Constitution speaks to.
Well, I think he's going to actually look very, very sympathetic to the jury from afar, while sitting there at counsel table next to his lawyers, basically looking like a cripple. Right? He's shriveled up like that. He'll probably be in some type of a wheelchair or brought into court on a walker. He's a very frail, fragile man. He's what I call a very, very old 75 or 76. And if we're honest, 75 or 76 in today's world is really not that old, but it sounds like that life behind bars and all his physical ailments have taken a physical toll on him. But I do believe that if he kind of limps to the stand in front of the jury, he still has his wits about him. He's still sharp as a tack. I don't believe that there has been any allegation that his mental processes have deteriorated, because if they did, then I'd suspect and now you have a situation where the prosecution wants to use that prior killing, if you will, against him under the guise of it being a murder. But under California law, he is entitled to have the jury hear that he was acquitted of that murder. So his fears, his concerns, I think are very well taken.
Yeah, actually, I want to dig a little deeper into that point you just made. We heard in the opening statements that they mentioned the murder and connect him to the murder of Morris Black. But technically, it's not murder under the law because he was not convicted. So how does the defense deal with that to make sure that this jury understands he was accused of it, he did it, but he was not convicted of murder in that case?
Well, under our reasonable doubt standard, a finding of not guilty does not mean innocent, to be fair. All it means is not proven. And the prosecution believes that they can use that finding of not guilty as not proven, but under the umbrella still of murder, because they believe that they had an unlawful killing in Galveston, and they're going to try to use it against him. What I would do, obviously, if I were defending the man, is I would ask for a limiting instruction so that the jury knows that he was acquitted of it. And I might even ask the court to sanitize the word murder to something a little more innocuous or benign, like death, killing. But murder sends a message to the jury that a crime was committed, and a jury did exonerate him of that.
No question. And these words, often now we're seeing a real trend that, they don't want victims called victims in court. Because that, again, gives this sense that there was some crime committed and someone must pay for it. So I think sanitizing the word murder would be a great way to go. All right, Philip, stand by. We're going to take a break right now. Up next, we have something very interesting. Motions being made